Alright, hello everyone and welcome to the second episode of the December 5 parties. If we're not up to date, so every Wednesday I will be telling you guys about a different dead pie. And the reason why it's every Wednesday is because this year New Year's Eve will fall on a Wednesday. And this is all the time of the year. So last week we did a progressive bull moose party. This time we'll also do the progressive pie, but instead of the bull moose, we did the one from 1924 to 1927. The party was made by Robert M. Follette. So, introduction. The Progressive Party was a political party. Oh my god, why is that line so bad? As a vehicle for Robert M. Follette to run for president in the 1924 election. It did not run for candidates for other officers, and it disappeared after the election. The party advocated progressive positions such as government ownership of railroads and electric utilities, cheap credit for farmers, the outlawing of child labor, stronger laws to help labor unions, more protection of civil liberties, and an end to American imperialism in Latin America, and before any person could leave the nation to war. Here is the 1924 election results. All states that are Follette red or in green, which is only Wisconsin. And the reason why it was Wisconsin is probably because that was his home state. I mean, not really thing. It's like basically obvious. Alright, that's the election and thoughts. And next slide. After winning election to the U.S. Senate in 1905, Follette had emerged as the leader of progressives. He sought the Republican presidential nomination in the 1912 election, but many of his backers switched to Theodore Roosevelt after the former president entered the race. Follette refused to join Roosevelt's Progressive Party, and that party collapsed after 1916. However, the Progressives remained a potential force within both major parties. In 1924, Follette and his followers created their own Progressive Party, which challenged the conservative major party nominees. Calvin Coolidge of the Republican Party and John W. Davis of the Democrat Party. The Progressive Party was composed of Follette supporters who was distinct from the earlier Roosevelt supporters by generally being more populist and Midwestern in perspective, as opposed to urban, elite, and Eastern. The party held a national convention in July 1924 that nominated a ticket consisting of Follette for president, and Follette later selected Democratic Senator Buster K. Wheeler of Montana as his running mate. The ticket enjoyed support of many farmers and laborers and was endorsed by the Socialist Party of America, the Farmer Labor, and the American Federation of Labor. Follette with Samuel Gompers, but I actually used to think he was with his running mate, but apparently he's not. In the 1924 election, the party carried only Follette's home state of Wisconsin. The ticket was 16.6% of the national popular vote and came in many counties in the Midwest and West with large German American elements or strong labor union movements. Ken McKay estimates that about 52% of Follette's support came from farmers, 20% socialists, 20% union members, and 8% railroad workers. The party's share of the vote represents one of the best performances by a third party in presidential election history. The Progressive Party National Committee held its last meeting in 1924. In 1934, 9 years after his death, Follette created the Wisconsin Progressive Party and briefly dominated Wisconsin politics. So Follette mainly carries counted in this area. None here and only one. Wisconsin Progressives. Years before, La Follette had created the Progressive faction inside the Republican Party of Wisconsin in 1900. In 1912, he attempted to create a Progressive Party but lost control of Theodore Roosevelt, who became the enemy. In 1924, his new party, using the 1912 name, called for public ownership of railroads, was created to the Railroad Brotherhoods. La Follette represented the Buddy K. Wheeler, the Democratic senator from Montana. Why is it in repeat? I'm going to skip this one. La Follette continued to serve in the Senate as a Republican until his death the following year, and was succeeded in a special election by his son. The La Follette family continued. How many sons there? There's only 10. Continued his political legacy in Wisconsin, publishing the Progressive magazine and pushing for liberal reforms. In 1934, La Follette's two sons began the Wisconsin Progressive Party, which briefly held power in the state and was for some time one of the state's major parties, after the head of the Democrats. California government. Hiram Johnson, the vice presidential candidate in 1912, was re-elected as governor of California in 1914 on the Progressive ticket. And in 1916, he was elected as the Progressive to the U.S. Senate and continued the affiliation with the state party through his decade in the Senate, while simultaneously winning the Republican nomination. While Johnson was personally close to the vote, he was much closer ideologically to La Follette. Johnson sat out on the general election of 1924 after unsuccessfully challenging Calvin Coolidge for the Republican nomination. Johnson personally disliked La Follette, but greatly admired his critics' third-party bid and generally agreed with his 1924 platform. And when they founded the Wisconsin Progressive Party, the California one obtained a ballot line in California, and ran 7 candidates, although all unsuccessful, although one of them got 13, ran for governor of California. Havener became a Democrat for the 1938 reigns. Ready? Either this one or this one. I forgot which one. Havener became a Democrat before the 1938 race. I could be him. I actually forgot who it was. Calvin also in the Progressive primary election, but received only 2.43% of the popular vote in the general election as a Progressive. And by the time of the 1942 one, the Progressive were no longer in the California ballot. And then Haight was again a Republican, a Democrat to the RNC. Alright, now I'm going to talk about the presidential candidate performance. So this is the same graph. 1924, Robert M. La Follette, Button K. Wheeler, 4,831,706, 16.6%, 13 votes, plus 13, Republican victory. So this is Robert M. La Follette, this is Button K. Wheeler, this was them during the campaign, and here is the Wisconsin map. In the 1924 election, what am I using? Robert M. La Follette carried all but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There were 10 counties. And with that, the second episode is done. The next one will be the 1996 Reform Party, which Rossville ran under. Stay tuned for that next week. Here's our graph so far. And then now here's a gallery. Here's the 1924 election map. During the campaign, the Progressive Party ticket, the Wisconsin state, Robert M. La Follette Jr., and other states in the election that La Follette performed well. California, Nevada, Montana, I think it makes sense because he's from Montana, and Washington. state. So like I said, mainly this part, none in this part, and only a few in the south. Hope you're getting into the video. Remember to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.